Почитувани представници.
Distinguished representatives of the media, now we'll hear the statements of the President of the Government of the Republic of North Macedonia and the President of the Government of the Republic of Albania, Mr. Rama. We'll first hear from Prime Minister Kovachevski. Thank you, distinguished colleague Rama, distinguished Edi, distinguished delegations from both countries, distinguished representatives of the media, distinguished citizens. Today, I was honored, together with my colleagues ministers, to welcome my dear friend and colleague Edi Rama, with whom we always have unflagging topics of conversation concerning our two countries and the region. North Macedonia and Albania have been developing traditional friendship and partnerships that serves as an example in the region, and our two countries share mutual cooperation in many fields, but also common European values, because the European path that we are not deviating from, also Albania, it is a strategic objective of both countries. On that path of European integrations, we both bilaterally and as a region have undertaken steps for Europeanization of our societies with the purpose of achieving sooner the European standards in any regard, both systemic and legal, and in terms of the living standard of the citizens. Such step was the Berlin process, within which the Western Balkans countries last year during the summit in Berlin signed 3 very important regional agreements for mobility, referring to recognition of the higher education qualifications within the Western Balkans countries, mutual recognition of the higher education qualifications for medical doctors, doctors of dental medicine and architects, as well as for freedom of movement with IDs within the Western Balkans region. This year's summit will be in Tirana, and as I told Eddie and his colleagues at the meeting, Albania, as this year's chair, and he himself as a prime minister, have our support in that process, because we know that this is a serious recognition for the country, for its results, but also for the region. We had the role of being a chair in 2020 when there was an additional challenge, and that was the Corona crisis, and all meetings had to be done online, and this is not the case this year, and that is why today we can have the President of the Government of Albania to be here with his colleagues in Skopje. The Berlin process is exceptionally important for the region, not only because of the agreements I mentioned, but also due to the initiatives that should be undertaken in future and are related to energy, economy, digitalization, infrastructure, and investment opportunities, as well as the additional mobility of the citizens and the businesses, while providing faster development of culture, education, European integration, exchange of many experiences between the countries. Beside the political initiatives and messages coming from this process, our region needs fast, concrete economic benefits. We need them because they will increase the economic potential of the region, and they will reduce the gap between the candidate countries for EU membership and the EU member states, especially in the region of Southeast Europe. We need something that the citizens will feel as a benefit before joining the EU, something that will keep the European idea and commitment alive for all stakeholders in the society, for all countries of the Western Balkans. At the end of the day, what is most important for the citizens is the economic situation, the economic development, the living standard, the rule of law, and the rule of the principles of democracy. On such note, we can jointly boast that we have done truly a lot. We have been doing that, and we will be doing that in the Open Balkan Initiative, which in brief time has provided concrete results between the 3 countries, North Macedonia, Albania, and Serbia. Results that are visible, that we have all seen, that everyone has welcomed, both the citizens and the businesses of the countries. The Open Balkan Initiative is something that the citizens and the businesses expect to bring novelties that will bring personal and business development between the countries. This has been quite increased, and it all comes from this initiative. To me, it is particularly important that this initiative brought increases in the part of trade exchange between the countries, and it remains complementary to the processes involving all countries. And here I mostly refer to the Berlin process and all the other initiatives that exist, the RCC, CEFTA, CEI, SECP, and others. You should know that within the Southeast Europe, there are 72 initiatives, part of them formal, part of them informal, some political, some economic, but these are the main ones where most of the initiatives actually happen. And I'm glad that the initiatives that have been signed within the Berlin process have proven that they can be conducted between the Western Balkan countries, and this is something that happened within the Open Balkan Initiative, and it will always stimulate the expected results from the Berlin process. North Macedonia, the place we're in today, is a concrete example of how, through dialogue, statesmanship, actions, and difficult, tough, and bold decisions, enormous differences can be achieved in a noticeably short time. From a captured state, we became a NATO member state. We became a country that started EU negotiations with protected identity, language, and culture, and a country that used to be a beneficiary of peacekeeping missions and today is a host country which shares its experiences with its neighbors for overcoming challenges through dialogue when it is needed. That is why I avail myself of this opportunity, being the immediate neighbor of Kosovo and Serbia, to appeal for de-escalation of the situation and implementing the internationally assumed obligations by both parties, that is, implementation of the agreement that Serbia and Kosovo reached on February 27th in Brussels, and especially of the agreement reached in Ohrid for the path towards normalization of the relations. I know that these are processes involving decisions in both neighboring countries, but the politicians everywhere are obliged to act as statesmen, as leaders, to be bold and courageous when resolving open issues, no matter how difficult and in vain it seems at times. Because of this approach, using dialogue, I can proudly say that we are now talking of our European future, of commenced negotiations with the European Union and the screening process, for the fact that next week North Macedonia will have its delegation at the NATO summit. We can speak of concrete reforms. We can speak of the signed Frontex agreement in our Macedonian language approved by all EU member states. And we are not saying that all this should happen sometimes in future. And when I say this, we can see that the difference is enormous. Of course, ahead of us, we have another decision, which is of the interest of the citizens and the media, and it refers to the constitutional amendments in the Assembly. I believe that our Assembly will be up to the task and that finally we will continue our path towards European integration and we will join the European family. I know it will not be easy. There are various interests, there are various calculations among the political parties. Some of them look for the interest of the countries, but unfortunately some of the political leaders are taking care only of their own political interests and ratings. However, a decision must be made, a decision that will be bold, and that the future generations will remember that this generation of politicians made a decision that's provided better future for the future generations. On this path towards European integration, I know we can count on the support of friends, and I would like to mention the President of the Government of Albania, Edi Rama. I know this because our traditional friendship is seen in concrete steps, concrete numbers and actions. This year we mark 30 years of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Our cooperation was deepened through the two intergovernmental sessions, and at the last one that took place last year in November, we signed several memoranda for enhancement of the cooperation in almost all areas, especially focusing on economy and energy. We have cooperation in all areas, and what I can say today is that we have completed the procedure here in our country. Albania has completed also the procedure, and the icons that were illegally taken from our country in 2013, for which our assembly ratified the agreement for cooperation between North Macedonia and Albania, will be retrieved to our country with the assistance of the government of the Republic of Albania. And there is no better confirmation than this one, when the cultural, historic heritage of the Macedonian Orthodox believers and of our church and part of our history and culture will be retrieved in the place where it belongs. And that is why this is something that I highly appreciate. I'm quite thankful to Mr. Rama and the government and their institutions, as well as the Minister Kostadinovska. We cooperate successfully within the frames of the NATO alliance, and we have active cooperation within the IPA-2 projects for cross-border cooperation. When it comes to our cooperation, the path has been traced, and on this occasion, I would like to wish, I believe that Edi will concur, for us to jointly celebrate our common successes and to accomplish our common strategic objective, full-fledged EU membership. I would like to thank Prime Minister Rama for being here today in Skopje. At the meeting, we mostly talked about coordination at the forthcoming meeting of the Berlin process that will take place in Albania. And I can say that the Prime Minister and the government are quite committed to successful summit this year. Thank you. Now I would like to invite the President of the Government of Albania, Mr. Edi Rama. Thank you. Distinguished Dimitar, distinguished Prime Minister. We had a very fruitful meeting and talks where we discussed about the Berlin Process Summit in Tirana. And my objective is for the summit to mark some concrete principles, significant, essential principles on which we are working with the cabinet in Berlin, and in parallel we discuss it with the European Commission in Brussels. These are times when it becomes very clear for all of us, and we agree on all items, not only in principle, but also in regards of what comes out from our everyday reality for our citizens and for this whole region called Western Balkans, a place found in the middle of Europe. And this is the fact that the gap between the EU member states and our countries, from the aspect of financial support coming from the European Union, is quite incomparable, especially regarding our needs and necessities for Europe to be more compact. This is the reason why we, some time ago, to be more precise, when we started the negotiations with the European Union, we started pressuring in that direction. We cooperate among each other as countries. We're being quite proactive, especially with North Macedonia, where the foreign minister, Mr. Osmani, the staff of the prime minister are very active. And this is done with the purpose of promoting our objective, our common objective, by equipping our partners with concrete numbers, with concrete arguments arising from this reality that it does not appear as such. But the more you look into it, the more surprised you are. And taking into consideration the experiences we've had, it forbids us to act as nothing has happened and not to do what is our responsibility. And I want to mention the COVID pandemics, when the European Union left us dry regarding the COVID response, and we're all forced to address other parties to ask for vaccines because from third parties, as they are called in the European Union. But I'm aware of the forthcoming of the next period when the European Union joined and when we received support from them. And well, speaking of this, this is not the only example. There are many common challenges that impose and ask for common political views, but also common approach towards the citizens who cannot be citizens of first or second row. The fact that some of our neighbors use from the European Union much more cannot be compared to what we can offer our citizens from our internal resources, no matter how much they are increased. And I would like to add something else. Albania and North Macedonia have a very important balance in their relations. The European Union, not only with regards to the reforms, but also towards the harmonization with the foreign policy of the European Union. And this is a value that is reflected in this joint idea of peoples and regions. And this is not something that everyone reflects as an idea. The good news is the fact that the Commission, as the President von der Leyen said, works in that direction, and very soon we will have another meeting, informal meeting in Tirana, where I would like to invite all of you. It is a meeting that will be joined by friends of the European Union to discuss regarding the plans. We need this plan. We need this support. We deserve it. We deserve the plan and the support as countries in Europe. We should not be considered as some countries that should to do their tasks. However, we need to contribute today even more. I believe that the European Union has the need of us as much as we need the European Union. Another item that we discussed is the NATO summit. Albania, North Macedonia, and Montenegro are NATO member states. We are absolutely harmonized with NATO leadership. We are NATO members in a region that is not peaceful, and we have the need of mutual understanding. We have the need of being clear in our common communication and in the communication with the non-NATO states, to help them raise their voices, because this is the voice of the whole region. And thank you for responding immediately to our request and for organizing this visit so fast. Thank you for the hospitality, for the warm welcome, for the journalists in North Macedonia who are very happy when I come here because I remind them of Bulgaria. Good afternoon. Welcome to North Macedonia, Mr. Rama.
The thing, you know, Albania with these other guys has to stay in the table and listen to this strange language. Nobody speaks ours. They all speak a language that understand each other.
Кажи му фалимендерите.
Now I'm good.
So you have translation. First of all, can you give us your comment on the fact that the Prime Minister of Kosovo, Kurti, refused to meet you? Also, Bilal Kasami, the leader of PESA, refused to meet you. How do you comment on this? And how do you assess the fact that Kurti declines to meet the requests from the US, from the international community? Can it be said that this violates the positive image that Albanians have in this region before the strategic partners? He refused to meet you? The president of BESA, the political party in Macedonia? The mayor of Tetova? I know, but does he refuse us to meet with me? How can he refuse to meet me when I did not request for a meeting with him? Or maybe previously he refused, thinking that I might ask for a meeting with him. Well, these are preventive measures, preventive refusals. Bilal is the mayor of Tetovo. He is a good guy. I would never remove him from the position of mayor regarding NATO issues. And also, Kurti refuses to meet with you. And how do you comment on his rejection of the requests of the international community? Does this ruins the image of the Albanians in the region? Please leave this for us, the Albanians, to treat it as an issue. When I will go to Kosovo, I still have hopes that Albin has not forgotten the canon, that you should open the door and you should welcome everyone who knocks on your door, and it is not good to take him out of your home before he finishes. Distinguished Prime Minister, okay, then tell us about the questions of the Albanians. A more concrete question. Calm down. Why this effort? Please, calm down. From professional aspect and with all due respect for a Prime Minister of an Albanian country and as an individual, we have information that Prime Minister Albin Kurti will not host you for a meeting. He has not confirmed your meeting. I would like to ask you more precisely. Did you learn a lesson from the Open Balkan Initiative by excluding the Albanians from Kosovo without consulting Kosovo? Kosovo with the bloodshed to not join with them as our brothers. This is what I speak as an Albanian. First of all, you ask this question as if I have certain guilt. Yes, the impression might be so, but this is what you ask me. Open Balkan, let me return to this issue. I would have established it again. Open Balkan is not an initiative that excludes. Open Balkan is one of the 72 initiatives in this region on which you haven't heard. I'm sure in this. When I saw the number of 72 initiatives, I was amazed. And what evil has the Open Balkan brought for our region except for the benefits? What are the benefits? Look at the numbers. The trade exchanges between the countries. And never, ever forget what has been done cannot be annulled. And what was done has helped us. The Berlin process, that is the umbrella on I want to focus 100% because Albania will organize the Berlin process, has benefits from the Open Balkan. I do not understand how you still doubt this when the facts are quite clear. When it comes to the brotherhood and the bloodshed, I believe that it is the worst way possible for the European thinking today. There is no worse way to take than harboring in the past. We should stop blaming each other. We should stop quarreling about who the true patriot is. A true patriot is the one who loves their country and does not wishes evil for anyone else. Yes? Jeshvista had a word for this. But on this concrete question regarding Kosovo, about the relations with Serbia, I will speak in Kosovo. There is no need to speak about it here because I will say it in Kosovo. With all my due respect, you have access to all the networks and you can follow what I say. Albanian Radio TV. One question for both Prime Minister. You confirmed, Prime Minister Rama, that the Open Balkan Initiative will continue. There will be new access to the Open Balkan, new approach, having in mind that the European diplomats have taken the Berlin process. Do you expect that the Prime Minister Abazovic, Prime Minister of Montenegro, who supports the Open Balkan, to join this initiative following the elections in Montenegro? I don't know where you heard that I spoke of Open Balkans. I do not want in this process, on the Berlin process and the necessity for all of us together to stand under the umbrella of the Berlin process as a result of this new plan that is being taken into life regarding our communications with Brussels. I want Open Balkan to be left aside. This is what I have to say. And I do not want to give anyone the opportunity to speak and to continue speaking of conspiracies, of alternatives, or whatever else. This is very clear. And I have no other comments regarding Open Balkan. To me, Open Balkan was for the benefit of this region, and I would do this all over again. And as I said, out of 72 initiatives, this initiative achieved a lot. Who was not part of the Open Balkan, they made a mistake. But Open Balkan is not a mistake. First of all, Open Balkan is an organic initiative arising from this region. And in any case, it is not opposite to any other initiative. Especially, it is not opposite to the Berlin process. Open Balkan came out as an idea from 3 countries in the region, always open for other countries in the region, no matter whether they are members of the European Union or not. You know that at part of the meetings we had ministers from Turkey, from Hungary as guests. At the summits, we had prime ministers of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro, and this initiative will remain open, always. Initiatives are best measured through the results. When you work on something, you will have the best assessment when seeing the results. Now I will tell you about some of the results arising for the citizens and for the companies in these 3 countries, in North Macedonia, Albania, and Serbia. The foreign trade exchange between North Macedonia and Serbia in 2019 was increased by 50%. The foreign trade exchange between Albania and North Macedonia was increased by 40% compared to 2019. The tourist exchange, the number of tourists from Serbia to North Macedonia, was increased last year compared to 2021 by 50%. Macedonia could have not imagined, or Albania, including Serbia, to have the biggest stand on the biggest wine fair in Italy on their own. The 3 countries together in Verona on Vinitaly, we had the largest stand at the largest fair. This is possible only if you go together, and this will be confirmed by all our wineries. And thanks to this, North Macedonia, its wine producers, increased their share and participation in the sales of wine, not only in the region, but throughout the world. We are the 2nd regional exporter of wine, and this is what the companies and citizens expect. Something that the Berlin process has been struggling a lot: recognition of high qualified staff, recognition of diplomas, free movement with IDs. We achieved that in the Open Balkan. And we will do that within the Berlin process because we've shown that it can be done. Let me resume. The results given by the Open Balkan, and that is supported by more than 70% of the citizens and the businesses in all 3 countries, remain. We will work on some new tasks because the mission of the integration as an imperative and the overall objective is integration of all countries in the European Union. The Berlin process is a bit wider initiative. We will jointly work on it. Let us not forget that within the Berlin process we have finally signed 3 agreements that are being kept in our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and North Macedonia proves to be to have a significant share in the Berlin process. Only a week ago, I had a meeting with the German Chancellor Scholz, where we discussed the Berlin process and the need for increase of the economic cooperation between the Western Balkan countries and increased support from the EU member states for the Western Balkan countries. So, each country that has not joined the Open Balkan, it could not provide to its citizens increased trade, increased mobility, and increased living standard. I have reiterated many times, it is easiest to be a politician who speaks of the past because you promise nothing. When speaking of the past, then you will neither make a mistake, you will neither promise something. It is difficult to be a politician who speaks of the future, of cooperation, of integrations, because when you speak of the future, you give promises and the people expect better lives. And that is why I want to appeal to all Western Balkan leaders to commit towards the integration processes in the region and towards faster implementation of the reforms for accelerated integration of their countries and thus of the region within the European Union. Thank you. Last question, Tamara. Question to Prime Minister Kovachevski. Yesterday, the ambassador of the European Union, David Gear, announced assessment commission for the Judicial Council. I don't think that we have had such assessment mission, and now just before the opening of the new cluster, we have an assessment mission. So this means that the things in the judiciary are becoming worse. How will you comment on this mission? Do we have concrete dates? What will the country do? Because the judiciary, yes, it is independent, but the assembly is adopting the laws. And another question for both prime ministers: is the story of Open Balkan finished or not? Open Balkan is not finished. It provided many results, visible, tangible results. Next week, I will have a joint meeting with Prime Minister Brnabić, where we will promote the joint M-tags for all citizens on Corridor 10. And Open Balkan did not finish its mission, taken into consideration that it deals with the same values of the Berlin process as an extensive process. Regarding your question, it is not the first time that we have an assessment mission from the European Union. There have been such missions in the past. This is a topic that we have discussed with Ambassador Geir a year and a half, taking into consideration that our judiciary is independent from the government, independent from anyone in the world, because by innovating on several occasions the reforms into the judiciary, where in the beginning the judges were elected in the parliament, they had mandates. Now we have another solution, and now we have a solution where the judges have lifelong mandates. They're being elected by the Judicial Council as an independent professional body with its integrity, etc., etc. And the assessment on them is given by judges from the Judicial Council. It is a body that is being elected on its own, it is assessed on its own, and it analyzes its work. From day one, when I became Prime Minister, I believe that such systems can often be flawed. They can have a bit more different image from the one that the public has on them. And it is good that within the cooperation we have with the European Union, because cooperation with the European Union means that you receive support in many areas involving the rule of law. And now they can organize this process of such mission to inspect all information regarding the functioning of the Judicial Council and to further share with the European Commission and with our political actors that have no subordination over the judiciary. And based on this, to propose appropriate reforms that will enhance the work of the judiciary in the country. So, do I welcome this mission? I support it. Can you please answer the question, is Open Balkan finished? I answered this question twice. I will reiterate again. I believe it is not my fault. If you want to look into this as a life or death situation, no, it is not life or death situation. What is Open Balkan? It is one of the 72 initiatives. The Berlin process was not going. The Open Balkan brought fantastic results that in reality are used by the people. They use the benefits of the Open Balkan to move freely, to trade freely, and accept what Dimitar said. In the next few days, we will complete the one-stop shop in the customs of Tjafasan, and this is also a result of the Open Balkan initiative. There is an exhibition in Paris, soon to be organized, that comes as a product of this initiative. The wine fair is also a fair open for everyone within the Open Balkan, and this will continue. But what I want to reiterate, we should put our hearts into supporting the Berlin process to restore the Berlin process into a functional process, as fully functional as the Open Balkan shows, because we can be very functional when we're together and united. The Berlin process did not stop because of those who initiated the Open Balkan. Let us be clear. There was a stoppage because I will not sign, we'll see you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. That is why it marked stoppage. We will give a new stimulus to the Berlin process. And I hope that we will not... I hope that we will turn it into a process directly related to the funding plan. We need Germany, we need all the other countries, so that together we can bring life to this Berlin process. We are now going into another phase in the relations with the European Union. This is why the Berlin process is of key importance now. It is a bridge whose pillars should be reinforced so that we can focus on our work. And we should not have disturbances from different winds, from the Open Balkan or other initiatives. I say, let us focus on the Berlin process. This is everything I have to say. If you want me to tell you life or death story, I have no such. If you want to know how should we continue, I explained this. Life is beautiful because everyone can dance to its own tune in a situation of freedom and democracy. Every one of you can dance to your own music. And who expected that the Open Balkan has failed? Let them sing the song about the end of the Open Balkan, and who believed in its success, then they can continue singing on the future life of the Open Balkans. I was inspired by the question of the colleague from Alsat. When you have a president of France and prime minister of Germany, mostly the discussions at the summits are how to improve cooperation, how to increase the economic activity, how to have better cooperation between the companies, how to make a better product that will be competitive to those products coming from the US, for example, China, Japan, how to make Airbus competitive that has components from other countries, not only from France, how to make Volkswagen more competitive. Their discussion is not about what happened with the battles of Verdun and Soma. Thank you. This is the end of today's press conference. Thank you for your attention.